So namaste everyone. Welcome to the 26th session of Taittareeya Upanishad. And Bindoji has been guiding us through the Taittareeya Upanishad, and the recordings are available either as a replay here on Clubhouse. So if you go back and look in the house, or you can go to Advaita Retold. I'll post that link in the chat also. It's a YouTube channel where Bindoji has been posting all these talks, sessions. And the link for the text is pinned up here on the top for Taittareeya Upanishad. And the 8th Upanishad volume is also available in the chat as a link to the Dropbox where you can download that. So if you want to catch up on all the other Upanishads. And as a reminder, on Advaita Retold channel, there are several other Upanishads starting with Isha Upanishad available for you to cross-refer and make it a continuous study. Okay, Bindoji, I think we can start, and I'll temporarily close the chat window and and hand raising so that we don't have any disturbance when the session is on. After that, we'll have a half an hour question and answer session. Bindoji will address some of the questions raised in this particular session. Over to you, Bindoji.
Namaste Prakash. Namaste all of you. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashi Kridau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murtibeda Vibhakine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shanti Mantram. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are into the second chapter called the Brahmanandavalli of Taittareeya Upanishad, and we are currently doing the sixth subsection of that, sixth Anuvaka. Asanneva sabhavati asad brahmeti veda chet asti brahmeti chet veda santamenam tado viduhu iti tasya esha sharira atma yah purvasya athato anuprasnaha uta vidwanamum lokam pretya kaschana gacchati aho vidwanamum lokam pretya kaschit samasnuta u sokamayata bahusyam prajayeti sa tatapotapyata sa satapattaptva idam sarvam asrjata yadidam kincha Tat Srshtva tadeva anupravisat tadanupravishya sachatyachha bhavat niruktam cha aniruktam cha nilayanam cha anilayanam cha vijnanam cha avijnanam cha satyam cha anrutam cha satyam abhavat yadidam kincha tat satyamityachakshate tadapyesha shloko bhavati. So this is a Shrashtava Anuvak or sixth Anuvak. We completed Asanne Sabhavati Asat Brahmeti Veda Chet Asti Brahmeti Chet Veda Santamenam Tado Viduruti Tasyesha Eva Sharira Atma Yah Purvasya Athato Anuprashna Uda Vidwanamum Lokam Pretya Kaschana Gacchati. So, what we discussed in the last class was where we knew that how Astitva asti brahma nasti asat brahmeti veda chet asti brahmeti cheda chet. These are the two contradictory statements in the same anuprashna. So the natural doubt will be there for what will be the correct one. So how do we have to understand? For that, we found that Acharya Shankara has split the questions, anuprasnaha, the number of questions which can come up in the mind of a seeker in the prashna, whatever the Upanishad is making the statement. Even though the questions are not given in the Upanishad by itself, the answers are pointing to the questions which are implied by looking at the answers. So that has been taken up by Acharya when he mentioned that atra astittvameva tavaduchyate yaduktam satyam jnanam anandam brahma iti tatra kacha katam satyam ityadeva vaktamim iti uchyate taduchyate. Like satyam jnanam anandam brahma, we had a detailed discussion on that when we started the first Anuvak of this month, this section. So how does that satyam, satyatvam iti etat vaktavyam iti, how should that this way it has to be pronounced or how to be understood? So for that, the akashadi, when we say that all the namarupas, we have the asti nasti. This asti nasti is the reason why all the names and forms or all the objectified matter can be said as available or non-available. But Brahman being non-transactional in nature, avyavaharyam, vyavaharatitam. So it is beyond the transactional limitations. Therefore, how do we bring that? It was discussed in detail. So that is why where we said that tadna akashadi karanatvad brahmana. So it is from the Brahman that akashadi, all the karanas or all the effects which are subsequently formed are said to have come from. And then the detailed discussion was given that only from a positive entity, asti, sat vastu, a positive thing can come. If it is a negative thing or a what you call non-existent thing, nastitvam, the things which can come as a nastitvam, out of nastitvam only nastitvam can come. Or from a barren woman there can no be children because the barren woman can never give a child. So that child is non-existent. So non-existent child cannot produce further progeny. So nastitvam will give rise to nastitvam, whereas astitvam will give rise to astitvam, like yadadi mrit, the lump of clay can give rise to many things, or as a piece of gold can give rise to many ornaments, etc. Therefore, tasmad asti brahma. So the find where we closed was, therefore, in this case, it has to be a positive thing because we are experiencing the whole world as existing. The reality of the world or the existence of the world is not in the names and forms, but from the material from which it is being forming. So that astitvam of Brahman is what is being transferred as astitvam in the whole objectifiable world which we are seeing. It can be in the manasa vacha karmana, or thoughts, emotions and feelings, or objects, physical or mental objects. All these things are basically coming from that one entity called Brahman or Atman. Tasmad asti Brahma. Therefore, Brahman is a positive entity is how we arrive at it. Not because avyavaharyam, it is not transactionally available, doesn't mean it is not a shunyata or a negative thing like the son of a barren woman or a horns of a hare, etc. Agrahanat nasti iti, nasti. So therefore, because it is agrahanam, it cannot be grasped, doesn't mean it is not existing, because it is a cause for which are existing like akashadi. Therefore, a thing which existing and can be perceived or available for perception has to have an origination from something which has positive entity, even though transactional is not possible. So, tatra katam asada sajjayate. So this question then leads to a question that katam asataha sat jayate. How can asataha sat can come? This is Shutyandaram asataha. In the Brihadaranya Upanishad, there is a detailed discussion running into pages on the Sat and Asat between Yajnavalkya and Janaka. So, I think Yajnavalkya Gargi, I think. Yeah, the question was asked to us, Katam, how can it be Asataha from Asat, Sajjayate? So, the question is, Sajjat Asambhavan Cheshta Nyayataha Anvacheshte. It is logically it is not possible Anvacheshte for the perception of Asambhava Sajjanmat from a non-existent, as I think that anything can be perceivable can come out is Nyayataha, is by logic it is right. Tasmat Sadeva Brahma eti yuktam. Therefore, Brahma is Sat. Because from Asat, Sat cannot come. Therefore, Sat has to be the nature of Brahman. Is iti yuktam means is logically valid. Tad yadi mrid bijadivat karanam syat achetanam tarhi. So then a subsequent question can come. If it is tad yadi, if here mrid bijadivat, like a lump of clay giving rise to a pot, there are many things which we are seeing in the world which has no chetana. So is there that, how can that a achetana vastu is born out of Brahman, is the achetanam tarhi? So we know that from a chaitanya, from a living being, another living being is produced. Whether it is andajam, udbijam, jarajam or shvetacham, whatever may be the four category of reproduction which is going on, it is all from a living being, another living being is coming. Mrid bijavat. Here the bijam is seed. The plant is supposed to have been taken as a achetana vastu those days. Therefore, asat, from there, how the achetana vastu, how can it come? Na. The answer given by the Siddhanti or Vedantin is, no, it is not that achetana is giving rise to mritadivat. Kama idritvat. The reason is that there is a desire for becoming or producing many. The Kama Yitra is the one who has a desire. That is what is mentioned in the So Kamayata Bahusyam Prajayeti. Let me become many is the way in which it has been mentioned in the Upanishads. So there is a Kamayitra or a subject which has got a desire to produce. But here, nahi Kamayitra achetanam asti loke. In the world, we do not see a Akamayitra. There is no example where there is reproduction or progeny coming from non-desirable person. Sarvajñam hi Brahma iti avochama. Sarvajñam hi Brahma. That Sarvajñatvam is the reason why Brahma is the reason for the Kamayitra or for the desirable one, because all the desires are in him or in that Brahman. Ataha Kamayitra tva upapatti. So the logical that is that the desire is vested in Brahman for the production of everything in this world. If the entire world is coming out of that, is because he is a Sarvajña. Kamayidritvad asadadi vad na apta kamam iti chet na swatantriyat. Now another question is being asked. See, these are all dialogues between the Purva Pakshi and the Siddhanti. So what he is asking is, Kamayidritvad asadadi vad na apta kamam iti chet. If it is like asat vastus, anapta kamam iti chet, if there is no desire, see the lump of mud doesn't have a desire to become pot. You need a desirable person as an intelligent cause, like the potter, to convert a unintelligent or non-desirable lump of clay to be converted into pot. But that is Kamayidritvad asatati vat. Asatati vat means like a lump of clay. Anapta kamam iti chet. Anapta kamam means one without a desire. If that is the case of Brahman, because it is asat. Suppose you are saying sat because sarvajña, therefore you are saying sat. Suppose if I say that is like the mrid bijam, all of them are becoming without any desire. It is becoming pot and it is becoming a tree, etc. So how can it be there? No. The answer is swatantriyat, because the freedom. The freedom is the reason why the Brahman is sarva swatantraha. He has all the freedom in its potential. And the freedom is the reason why it has all the desires within itself. Only where you have a freedom, you can have a desire. If you know you are not free to desire, you will not even desire, because you know you cannot achieve that. Whereas here, sarva swatantratvat brahmanaha, Brahman is sarva swatantraha. In all aspects, it is absolutely free, because there is nothing other than Brahman. So there is omniscience, omnipotency, and eternity. Everything is available in Brahman. Therefore, sarva swatantrata is in Brahman. Therefore, it cannot be a asad vastu and anapta kama to have produced many things. Yada anyan paravashikritya kamadi dosha pravartayanti. In our case, or in anyan, for others other than Brahman, paravashikritya, by the way of attraction. Paravasham means depending upon others. Now, for example, a father, even if he wants to have a progeny, he needs a wife. A man does depend upon a wife to produce a progeny. He cannot have a desire and become a progeny by himself. He will not become a progeny. There is a what you call paravasha, means dependency on others. Same way, the mud cannot become a pot without depending upon the potter. Like that, if you will see that there is a, what is called, other than Brahman, for all others, there is a vasikritya, there is a dependency of attraction by that kamadi dosha, plus the desirability is depending upon, based on the conditions of the object on which it is depending on. So the father cannot, the man cannot have a progeny other than a female. Therefore, there is a dependency on the female plus a kamadi dosha. There has to be an attraction between the male and the female. For that only, then the progeny can come. Now, na tada brahmanaha pravartakaha kama. In the case of Brahman, there is no, what you call, prompter or no force which is making outside him, forcing him to have a desire. So paratantriyam, or dependency on the other, anything other than that is not present in the case of Brahman. Therefore, Sarvatnya, because he being Sarvatnya, he is Sarva Swatantra. Therefore, paratantriyam api nasti. There is no dependency on others. Katham tarhi satyajnana lakshanaha swatma bhudatvat tvadi visuddha. Swatma bhudatvat visuddha adi bhadattvadi visuddha. Satyajnana lakshanam. Satyajnanam anandam is the lakshana of Brahman, which we have said. Therefore, it is depending upon itself. So Atma Buddha means it has no dependency on others. It is on self-dependency or its own desire. That is why Sa Akamayata, we mentioned the statement is that he desired in himself. His desire was in himself. It is Atma Buddha, means generated within oneself. Vishuddhaha, pure desire can happen only when it is not depending upon others. We cannot even think about such a desire because all our desires are depending upon others. Here it is Swatma Bhuda Vishuddha, means his desire is born out of his own desire to become. Let me become many. That was the way in which he desired. Not that I want to become many and therefore I am depending upon Akasha, etc. And therefore Akasha, others will do the Panjikaranam. Then I will create the world. No, nothing like that. He himself is the one which is become the Akasha. He himself is the one which has become Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi, Aushadaha, Purushaha, Anyaha, Jivaha, the Prapancha, the Jagat. So the Jagat, entire Jagat, is nothing but himself. So the question again is asking is Kadam Tarhi, how is that done? So that is why he is saying that Na Taihi Brahma Pravartyate Teshantu Tat Pravartagam Brahma Prani Karma Apekshaya. This is a very important aspect. This Vishuddha Swatma Bhutatvam, this pure desire within oneself or desire within Brahman is not triggered by anything external to it. Whereas Naitairha Brahma Pravartade. It is not that way in which Brahma works, where the dependency is depending upon others. Teshantu Tat Pravartagam. For them, for anybody else other than that, there is something which is contributing or making it work. Pravartagam. What are they? Prani Karma Apekshaya. Now, when Brahman has created, or Brahman appeared as many things, he also has created many things for maintenance and reproduction and what you call the cycle of reproduction. One is space, Akasha is started. Then he brought Desha Kala. Kala is the time is another one. And here it is saying Prani Karma. The karma which each of the one which is born is depending upon for its own apeksha, depending on that. And it is the karma which gives rise to the further progeny and the quality and the nature of those progenies or the production. So here we have to understand that how the multiplicity and the variation in the world has been designed by Brahman in the creation itself without coming and interfering in the operations, even though it is he himself or that itself which is everything in the world, but that there is an order, there is a design which is called prani karma. And satkarma asti chet punya bhavati, tamas karma asti chet papa bhavati. If it is a punya karma, then it is triggered by a satya karma or sat karma. And when it is done by a tamas karma or a negative karma, then you get a papa or a sin. And this cycle of punya and papa are the reason that the dependency on the higher level of one to lower level of the other one will decide about the difference variation of how the enjoyment and suffering in the world is going on. Now, if this apeksha prani karma was not part of Brahman's design, and if we assume that there is an Ishvara who has done this thing, then the Ishvara is the one who is giving us the difference of different life, which is followed in some of the philosophies, where it is everything is due to Ishvara's design. Then the Ishvara is not impartial. He is partial to some and partial, not favoring others. This problem will happen in the other philosophies. Only in Advaita we can say that it is your own making, or the prani karma vashat, in the sense that due to the ignorance, not knowing our own nature, our true nature, we are now getting entangled in the karma and the result or the karma, kama, desire, and paratantriyam, dependency on other things. All these things are in the design itself, which is why tasmat swatantriyam kameshu brahmana. But one who knows that he has full freedom in it. He is not bound by the karma or the limitations of the body or anything which he is associating with. The nama, rupa, nama, etc. Ataha na apta kamam brahma. Therefore, anapta kamam brahma. Therefore, we have to definitely understand that there is nothing called insufficiency in Brahman as far as the desire is concerned. This cannot be attributed. That is why kama pravartakatvam is not due to paratantriyam in Brahman, because he is sarvatantratvat, and sarvatantratvam comes from sarvatnyatvam, due to his being omniscient about it. Sadhanantara apekshatvat cha, anapekshatvat cha. Sadhanantaram. Here, other dependencies or material causes. Now, for example, a lump of clay to become a pot, not only it is depending upon the potter is also depending upon the wheel and the water and the donkey or, something to bring the lump of clay from a different place, and then heat, the oven, etc. So sadhanantaram apekshate. Same is the case for a man to get a progeny. He has a sadhanantaram, which is his wife. So like that, and in the animals also, or in the pranis, all of them have got the sadhanantaram apekshatvacha. Therefore, such a thing where Brahman is ekaha, there is none other than Brahman. Therefore, there is no sadhanantaram in the case of Brahman. Therefore, aptakamaha, everything is in himself or in itself, in Brahman itself. Yatha anyesham anatma bhuta dharmadi nimitta apeksha kama. For anyesham, for others who are other than Brahman, anatma bhutatva, the desire is not self-driven, in the sense that knowing what is our true nature, we should have a desire to have something else. When we know our true nature, that we are nothing but Atma or Brahman, there cannot be a desire, because we see everything in ourselves and everything ours as in everything. So therefore, yatrana anyat pasyadi anyat shrunodi anyat vijanadi, when such a situation is coming, there cannot be having a kama which is other than that. So anatma bhuta, that type of situation is not present for people who have not known other than a jnani. Therefore, dharmadi nimitta apeksha. So therefore, there is a rules and regulations which is saying dharma, adharma, all these then becomes nimitta for the apekshatvam, for kama. One who has a putra kama, one having, not only he has a dependency on his wife, he also does yaga as ordained by the Vedas. Putra kamadi homa, yajnam, all is being done by that. That is because of dharma dependency on the dharma. Swatma vyatireka vyatirikta karya karana sambandhan sadhanandaran apeksha cha. Swatma vyatirikta, other than oneself, or dependency on other oneself, there is karya karana sadhana antara apeksha. So what is that? Cause, effect and material causes, all these things are dependency is there, other than when that's swatma vyatirikta. Not tada brahmana. In the case of Brahman, that is not the case, because it is Atma, it is all in himself. The Karana is also him, the Karya is also him, there is no sadhana other than him. So all those things are paravekshatvam nasti. There is no dependency on others. All it is swatma, in himself. So then question is asked, kim tarhi, then what else? What happens otherwise? Swatmano ananya. In the case of Brahman, there is nothing other than that. So swatmana, in the Atma, in the case of Atman or Brahman, ananya, there is nothing other than outside. This is satyajnanam anandam. When we discussed about anandam, we knew ananyatvam. That ananyatvam makes it swatma nirbhara. It is depending upon itself for its own desires and its own creation or its own appearance. Now, we can say that there is no dependency for gold to become gold, but there will be a dependency for a goldsmith when the gold is not having Atma Bhava. Now, if you look at it in a different way, the water to become the ocean or the wave, or it is its own desire to become wave or a flow in the water. The flow the flow nature of water is Atma Bhava, Atma Swatantriyam. The Swatantriyam is in the water. Therefore, the Swatantriyam is the reason why it is able to produce the waves. Tad edad aha so akamayata. Therefore, it is mentioned in the Anuvaka, Shrishthada Anuvaka, that he desired or he willed. What did he desire? Yada yasmat akasha sambhudaha. Atmana akasha tanbudaha. Tasmat etasmat akasha atmana sambhudaha. So, therefore, sa atma became the akasha. Akamayata means kamitavan means he desired. From him, in it itself, this akasha is appearing not separate from him, in himself. This akasha is atma itself. What karya vyatirekena, karana vyatirekena karyam nasti. We studied that. The effect is not separate from the cause. Here, we have to very carefully listen to the subsequent statements which are going to come. Then only we will understand that what the Upanishad and the Acharya Shankara is wanting us to understand. Please be attentive. The Atma, when it became Akasha, Akasha was not produced separate from Atma. The Akasha was Atma itself, with a guna called Shabda, which was present in Atma as Sarvaguna, Sarvaguna Sampanna, not Nirguna. Nirguna is because we are not able to see the guna. When all gunas merge together, we don't see the gunas separately. So we can say Nirguna means, it is actually means Sarvaguna. Of that, Akasha picks up only the Shabda guna. That way we found that all the 5 gunas are subsequently appearing in the Atma itself. Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agni, Agnerapaha, the Prithvi, etc. So the question is asked by the Purvavashis, Katam Bahu Syam Prajayeti. Bahu means Prabhutam, means multiple. It did not just produce Akasha. It produced everything, or everything appeared in it, in itself. Syam means Bhaveyam. It desired to become multitude of things in itself. It was all by itself, it was all available as itself, and in itself, it became everything in it with its own production. Now, the best way for us to understand this is when we dream, every atom, every molecule, every object, the subject, the objects, the space, the time, everything in this dream world is the dreamer itself. Having become the dreamer, he forgot he is a dreamer. He enjoys the world, everything. He forgets. Is a usage to show that we have now forgotten our own nature. Not because Brahman has forgotten itself. It doesn't have to forget. It is right now, Brahman knows that Sarvatnyaha asti. Because Brahman is there, but the Akasha forgot it is Brahman. The Vayu forgot it is Brahman. Like that, everything forgot which appears in itself as a separate, felt that it is separated out of its own Karana. Can gold ornament be ever separated out of gold? Can a drop of water be separated out of ocean? In essence, it is, or from water. Can a earthen pot separated out of lump of clay? The appearance separate doesn't make it separate from the Karana. Because Karana Vyatirekena Karyam Nasti. If you take out the gold from the ornament, the Nama Rupa of the ornament goes. The name of the pot vanishes if we take out the mud. If we take out the water, neither the ocean, nor the waves, nor the sky, the vapor, the clouds, nothing will be visible. If the space is taken out of any object, no object can exist. Now, if we take out existence, the Sat, the Satyajnanam Anantam Lakshana, the Sat itself from the space also cannot exist. Therefore, the Karana Vyatirekena Karyam Nasti, that aspect is the reason why Bahupsyam Prajayeti, when multitude appears in itself, the feeling that the world has become separate from the Brahman is due to the ignorance of this aspect of the cause is embedded in the effect. The effect is none other than the cause. But the cause is not the effect. That we will now explain as to how the cause is not the effect. The Namarupa is not Brahman. We will know it when we go further into the discussions. Katham ekasya artha anantaran anupravesha bahusyam sya iti. The question is that, Katham, how, ekasya arthantaran anupravesha. If there is only one, how can it enter into Akasha? So here it is that the word is that anupravesha is mentioned in the Upanishad. That entered into the creation. Tat Srshtva tadeva anupravisat. So we are not reached there, but the question is being asked right now itself. How that anupravesha, bahutvam, anupravesha kritva, means having created the Akashadi, it entered the Akasha or it entered the Vayu, it entered, that is the way statement by the Upanishad. How the bahutvam syad, how can it be, because there is only one Brahman or one Atma, how can it enter something which is not separate from it? Because other than that, there is nothing other than that. Utpadyeya, how can it there be creation also? Nahi putrotpattehe iva arthandara vishayam bahubhavanam. Like the father now creating a child, putra, it is bahubhavanam, is becoming multiple. The father and the son exist separate. Even though the father say, I am the creator of the son, or the son is my creation, the creation is separate from the father and mother. So bahutva means multiple. The simultaneous existence of both is not the same way in which in the case of Brahman is becoming everything, that Akashadi. Kadam tarhi, how is it done? The question again. This Kadam tarhi means, if the question is being that, how come? We'll ask in English, how come? It is exactly that is the merit. Kadam tarhi means Atmasta anabhivyaktan nama rupa abhivyaktavya viktya nama rupa abhivyakta viktya. Atmastam means remaining as what itself, oneself. Atmastam means remaining as oneself. Anabhivyaktan nama rupa abhivyakta. It adorned the name and form by not living its original self nature. The Atma is present in everything. When I say I am, that the self is there. Everything has the self in it. So the self, now when it adorns nama rupa abhivyaktaya, by adorning the name and form, it appears that the self now is projecting itself as separate. Yada atmaste anabhavyakte namarupe vyakriyate tada namarupe atmaswarupa aparityagena eva brahmana apravivyakta desha kale sarva avastasu vyakriyate. What does it say? Yada atmaste. When atmaste means abiding in itself. Anavivyakte. Abhivyakta means to separate out or to form separate. Nama rupe, in the form of nama and rupa, vrakriyate. It appears have created nama rupa. How can it, now we can understand, we should understand this way, that this water, without leaving the nature or the condition of water itself, the wateriness or the nature of the self of water has not been abandoned when it becomes waves, bubbles, froth, etc. or even rain or the river. It is in the wateriness or the atmatvam of water has never been left. But it has adorned different nama rupa, bahutvam, by without leaving the water nature of itself. Similar to that akasha, the space, there is no big space, small space of in the eye of the needle to the cosmos. The space has not become many spaces. The space is all that one by itself. But when it takes that this is a small space, my room is a small space, the hall is a big space, the space in the eye of the needle is small, the space of a football ground is big, all these because of nama rupa. But the space has never left its swarupa of giving potency for everything to appear in itself. Same way, the Brahman or Atman has not become multiple individuals, multiple beings or multiple things in the world. All that appears as different names and forms are nothing but the same Atman, right from Akasha to the atom, which we can think of. Everything is that same Brahman only. Therefore, we have to understand that this nature of Atma not having left itself, its own nature, is what it is saying, Atma Swarupa Apparityagena Eva. Atma Swarupa, the nature of Atma itself, has never been abandoned by Atma. Apparityagena Eva, without abandoning itself. Brahmana, Atmanaha, Apravibhakta, without becoming separate, space and time, Desha Kala, Desha Kale, Sarvas Avastasu, in all the avastas, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Avastha, or Bhuta, Bhavat, Bhavishyat, past, present and future, all the type of different divisions which we can think of, imagine of, without leaving its own nature, vyakriyate, it creates. Here is the word kriyate, vyakaravani or vyakriyate, is without abandoning its own nature. It can become akasha or the atom, any. Tadedat nama rupa vyakaranam brahmano bahubhavanam. So what is the bahusyam prajaye means? Let me become many in the definition of from the Brahman or from the Atman. It is only thing is that it is adorning different names and forms. It has not become the names and forms. It is adorning different names and forms. Like the water itself, without abandoning the water in us, becoming the ocean, the waves, the froth, the bubble, or the river, or the snow, or anything for that matter. It has not left the water, or the sky, example which I said. So, Nama Rupa Vyakaranam Brahmana Bahubhavanam. It is the way in which Brahman has become many. Na Anyatha Nirayavasya Brahmanaha Bahutva Utpatti Upapadyate Alpatvam Va. Other than that, na Anyatha Niravayavasya, the Brahman which is Niravayava, there is no parts for Brahman. Ekam, that is one Satya Chit Ghanam. It is pure consciousness or awareness, pure Sat, pure Chit, pure Ananda. So Swarupa, that is the nature, Niravayavayam. There is no Avayava in which you can think about Brahman. Bahutva Upapatti, Bahutvapatti Upapadyate. The multitudinous in the Brahman is not because it is taking avayava or becoming parts. Ishwarasya avayava, jiva Brahma. Here is that mithyatvam will become much more clearer for us. The mithyatvam is only the nama rupatvam. Just because the adorning the name and form, whatever you think as nama rupa separate from the existence or awareness or the consciousness of it, without existence, if you think nama rupa is possible, then it is a different entity. But the nama rupa is depending upon existence for its own existence. That existence is nothing but the existence seen in everything. That is what is called the bahutvam, upapadyate, is the way in which it is rendered. And alpatvam, bahutvam and alpatvam, the space of the multitude, the larger the space, or the space in the eye of the needle, or the existence of an atom and the existence of the cosmos, the existence is not different. It is all in Brahman only, and therefore, without leaving its nature, when it adorns names and form, we call it as the creation or the world. Akashasya alpatvam bahutvam cha vastuantara kritameva. Akashasya, the space, bahutvam and alpatvam, the magnitude and the minitude or the minusculeness. Vastuantara kritameva, due to the vastu. If I say the space of the eye of the needle, it is due to the needle we are adding the space is eye of the needle, not the space has become the eye of the needle. It is the dependency on the vastu. Or the space of the cosmos is because of the size of the cosmos. So, vastuantaram kritameva, it is created by the dependency on the vastu. Ataha tadvarena eva atma bahutvam bahuvati bhavati. Same case, the Atma is now appeared to be multitude because there are multiple names and forms appearing in Brahman or Atman. Now here comes the crunching statement from Shankaracharya. Nahi Atmanaha Anyat Anatma Bhutam Tat Pravivatta Deshakalam Sushmam Vyavahitam Viprakrishtam Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat Va Vastu Vidyate Ataha Nama Rupe Sarvavaste Brahmana Eva Atmavati Na Brahma Tadatmakam. The statement is like this. Nahi, verily or indeed, there is not what? Atmanaha anyat atmabhudat. Something separate coming out of Atma. Atmanaha anyat anatmabhutam. Something as other than as Atma, anatma, cannot come out from Atma. What comes out of Atma has to be Atma. Tat pravibhaktam, that is now being felt. Vibhaktam means divided due to desha, kalam, either space and time. Sushmam by small, minusculeness. Vyavahidam, separate. Viprakrishtam or, appearing as separate. In bhutam bhavat bhavishyat, past, present and future. Va vastu vidyate. There is no object, na vidyate. But now, because now it started with the not. So that not has to now be brought here towards the closing of the Viprakrishtam, bhutam bhavat bhavishyat, vastu na vidyate. There is nothing outside it because desha is also itself, kala is also itself, sukshmam is also itself, vyavahidam is also itself, viprakrishtam is also itself, bhutam is also itself, bhavat, the present is also itself, bhavishyat, the future is also itself. There is vastu, there is no vastu outside this. When it is everything, how can there be something outside itself? Ataha nama rupe sarvavaste brahmana eva atmavati. Atmavati means the self of everything in the names and forms, or whatever is appearing as nama rupe in the nama and rupa, the self of the nama rupa. The name and form is attribution, but the self or the dependency of the nama rupa or the nama rupa is appearing depending on something. Like the ornament is depending upon gold for its appearance, or the pot is appearing for the mud for its appearing, or the snake is depending upon the rope for its appearance. All those things are Atmavati, means due to the Atma in them, which is on which it is depending upon. Therefore, all the Nama Rupa in all the avasthas, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti avasthas for us, or Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat for the past, present and future, all their Nama Rupa has a dependency only on one thing, which is called Brahman or Atman. The contrary is not right. That is, na Brahma tadatmakam. Brahma is not depending upon Nama Rupa. Nor the Nama Rupa which is there in the objects, in the Nama Rupa, is required for Brahman for its own existence. Hope you are understanding it very clearly. Srinivas asked this question in the last class. So that dependency for Brahman is not for the names and forms. Just because names and forms are there for transaction doesn't mean that names or forms are required for knowing Brahman. No. There is dependency of names and forms on Brahman. So therefore the Brahman can be seen in the names and forms, and the names and forms cannot be seen in Brahman. Therefore, na Brahma tadatmakam. Te jnadrit jnaya jnana shabda arthadi sarvas vyavahara bhak Brahma. Te means all the names and forms and the dependencies of desha, kala, sushma, vyavahitam, viprakrishtam, bhudam, bhavat, bhavishyat, all of them, jnadrit jnaya jnana is included in the subject, object and the knowledge. Shabdartha of the artha of the shabda means the jnatra means the subject is the shabdartha for the jnatra. Neya means the one which is known or the object. Also is depending upon the object of what is it is depending upon. Jnanam is the knowing of happening between the knower and the known is also a shabda which is also depending upon the same subject. So, the te tat prakhyane, without that, nastaha eva idi tadatmage uchyate. Therefore, they are all depending upon the Atma, on each one of them. Tabhyam cha upadibhyam. All these upadis are depending upon the jnadrit jnana jneya. And therefore, vyavahara bhak Brahma. The Brahma is now becoming a transactional object due to the shabdartha of jnadrit jnana jneya. The the knower and the known and the knowing is Brahman itself. By becoming the names and the meanings of the names, Brahman is not changing its swarupa, because therefore Vyavahara Bhak means it is becoming eligible for transaction without abandoning the nature of Brahman itself. Saha Atma evam kamaha san tabha atapyata. Now in the Upanishad says, Sat tapatot apyata. That Atma, evam kamaha san, having this desire to adorn the names and forms on itself, is what is called the tapa, or the penance, because of which atapyata, that is itself is the penance which he undertook. This Atma or Brahman is adorning now the name and form for transaction purpose, as the knower, known and the knowing is the tapas. And the doing of the tapas by itself is what is mentioned in the Upanishad. Tapa idi jnanam uchyate. Tapa means the jnanam in the satya jnanam anandam lakshana. That jnanam is the tapa, which is, he is quoting here, Yasya jnanamayam tapa. Muntaka Upanishad, we studied that in the first chapter, first section, 8th mantra. Idi Shuttyantaram. So in the Muntaka Upanishad, it is mentioned, Yasya jnanamayam tapa. So Yasya means Brahmanaha. Here the Brahmanaha, what is the tapa? Jnanamayam. That the pure knowledge in itself, or pure jnanam in itself, is the tapas. Apta kamatvacha idarasya asambhavaha eva tapasa. For a one other than aptakama, this jnanamayam tapa is not possible, because the sarvatnyatvam is now there in it. Therefore, itarasya asambhava eva tapasaha. Tat tapaha atapyate taptavan. How that has now taken up the tapa. He became the jnanam he is now deploying in the name and form to become jnadrit jnana jneya. So it is now explained that Srijyamana Jagat Rachanadi Vishayam Alochanam Akarod Atmat Ityartaha. Srijyamana Jagat, the world which is now being produced. Srijya means to create. Srijyamana Jagat. Jagat is starting at what is that? Rajanadi Vishaya. It is being created by Alochana, by thought or by the desire. Sakamayata. Akarod Atma Ityartaha. Now the Atma, how did it create the world? The Jagat is nothing but Nama Rupa. The entire transactional world is called Prapancha or the Jagat. And that Jagat is how Srijyamana Jagat appearing to have been created from Alochana Nama Akarot. Alochanam Akarot. It is that way it is appearing now as the names and forms. Sa Alochanam Alochya Tapat Taptva, having done the tapas or the jnana being deployed as the jnana, Prani Karmadi Nimittan Anurupam Idam Sarvam Jagat Deshataha Kalataha Namno Rupena Cha Yada Anubhavam Sarvai Pranibihi Sarva Avastaihi Anubhuyamanam Asrjataha Srishtavan. Now he is telling how that Tapadat Taptva means Alochanam Alochya Evam Brahma or Atman Prani Karmadi Nimittam Anurupam. Depending upon the prani and the karma and the nimit, that is the cause, and Anurupam befitting the desire and the karma and all those things. Idam Sarvam Jagat. All this world of transactional by Deshataha, by Kalataha, in the space and time, Namna Rupena, by adorning the names and forms, Yada Anubhavam, with the name and form when it is there, it is Anubhavam means in the form of experience. Sarvai Pranibihi, all the Pranihi means all the creation, Sarva Avastaihi, in all the avastas, whether it is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Bhuyamanam Asrajaha Srishtavan. It is now appearing to have been created. Is it not the same way we also experience from the deep sleep? What is the first tapas comes out? The experience or the knowledge is what it is coming out. It has no name, no shape, no form. In that knowledge, names and forms starts appearing. I am the waker or I am the dreamer, and the dream world and the waking world. That is sarvasu avastasu anubhuyamanam. All experiences of either the waker or the dreamer from the deep sleep. Asrajataha means Srishtavan. That Atma or Brahman is the one now becoming the waker, the dreamer, the waking world, the world of transaction, the Jagat, Srijyamana Jagat. So this is Vetsa Atapratyata, Tapata Tattva, Sarvam Asrujata. Now Sarvam Asrujata means all those things created by this format. Yadidam Kincha, Yat Kinchit, Idam Avisishtam, Tat Idam Jagat Srishtva, Kimakarot iti, Tat Tadeva Srishtam Jagat, Tat anupravisat iti. Now, edidam kincha means whatever it is there here in this world, having created, Tat Srshtva, idam jagat Srshtva, this world having created, kim akarot, what did it do? Uchyate, tadeva srishtam jagat anupravisat iti. Having created now the names and forms, it enters into all the names and forms. Now, how does it enter in the names and forms? It's a very long discussion. The rest of this commentary is fully dedicated for how does this anupravesa take place. There are a lot of purvapakshis of different nature coming up and different questions are going to be asked. So hold your breath. Keep your questions on all this anupravesa part separate, because unless we go through that, we will not be able to answer that. But understand that how does the creation from the knowledge, jnanam, which is the tapas, and the tapat atapyata means how did the creation take place? By adorning the nama rupa in itself, it became the world in itself, is how the Upanishad has mentioned. I'll stop here. The rest of the things we will continue in the next Wednesday. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavada.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. Again, a very deep session. I've turned on hand raising. The chat window is open if you don't want to come up and ask questions. Bindoji will be here for another 20 minutes.
Hari Om Venkat.
Namaste. Namaste, Bindoji. This is a long day again for you. Should we go through questions or should we move it to Sunday?
If it is a long question and everything, I'll prefer it on Sunday.
Okay, then I'll only ask the short ones, Bindoji. The attribution of karma. That is a very interesting attribution, but it explains a lot.
Yes.
Asti was covered in the last session. Now this is the karma that is attributed to Chetana, while the Priyam or the Pramoda attributed to Ananda, Andamaya Kosha, but why desire is attributed to Chetana? That is the question I have in this one. This is just a cross checking. That's it, Bindoji. Any thoughts on this? Why not attribute it to Ananda?
Okay. We are now going into the aspects of anupravesha, how it is entering. If it is in the form of Ananda, there will be confusion among people who are saying, because they still think the Ananda is in the object. And there are objects which are having Ananda and objects which are not giving Ananda. So, there can be a confusion when it is coming to Ananda as this aspect. Whereas Chaitanya or Chetana or knowledge or consciousness aspect, when it is mentioned, it is consciousness which we have, whether we are enjoying everything in the waking or in dream, it is all consciousness only through which we are knowing everything. Without consciousness or Chetana, there is nothing, no experience which is possible, either waking or dream. So, it is easy for us to associate ourselves as a Chaitanya Vastu or a Chetana Vastu and to do an introspection, because we are always talking about Atma and Brahman as identical. So I have to find out this Atma of mine. How do I see the Sarvatma Bhava? After this, I understand is possible only if I consider myself as a conscious being, and that is the nature which I have to see in everything. That is why the Chetana has been taken as the reference. Not that Ananda is not there. Sat Chit Ananda is there, or Satya Jnanam Anantam Lakshana. All of them are the same only.
Sure, Binduji. That Asti, I was just trying to say that because Asti is now repeating again. See, if you take the Apta Kama, right? Apta Asti. The attribution, the Kama cannot arise without the Apta. That Apta Kama, right? You can even attribute it as a Satya Kama also.
No. Apta Kama means fulfilled or brim or, full of Kama, or the one with all the Kamas.
But
that all the Kamas, Apta Kama, Akama, or all these things can be compared equally. Akama means without any desire. Apta Kama means with all the desires, there is no desire outside himself. So Apta Kama, Akama, all those things are the terms used for describing Atma or Brahman. Because being omniscient and omnipotent, there is nothing outside it. That is why the Aptakama word has to be understood in the proper way. It is not Satyam or Asatyam. That way you cannot take it that.
Sure, brother. See, if you look at one's own experience, the self-love is the most evident, if you look at every other, expression of love, eventually attribute to the self-love. Because even if you want to have a family, expand on it or accumulate anything, it is for self-love only, end of the day. It is all coming back to that attribution. This attribution, the karma, it is that attribution, will not compare that with, all encompassing love, but at least as an expression, this self-love become, more is the only reason for everything else. That is also expressing this way. This karma is nicely, taken out. I think other qualities are taken out. That which is, at a human level, there is a dependency for the desire, while here there is no dependency. This is self-evident. And that is highly isolated in describing karma. So, apta karma is the right word, agree, Vinodji. But this, in one's own experience, how this could be potentially tallied in this. I'm just giving this example, self-love as an example.
Okay. In the Brihadaranya Upanishad, this is discussed in detail between Maitreya and Yajnavalkya. Putrasya kamaya putram priyam bhavati, atmanasu kamaya putram priyam bhavati. Like that it starts. Sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, tasmat atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. That is the concluding thing. So sarva kama can happen only in the Atma, because Atma being sarva. So sarvasya kamaya priyam bhavati, atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. So that is how we are with saying that aspects is detailed explained in the Brihadaranya Upanishad. When we take it, I'll explain that. But for here being that this sarvam, when you see sarvatma bhava, then only this aptakama can be sarvakama, aptakama, akama, and atmakama. That also will come. Atma kama, one who desires Atma. It will also come into that picture. So that is why the kama word should not be misunderstood as a desire, how we have a desire for things. Because paratantriyam is there, dependency on other for our kama. Whereas the self-desire for being oneself is innate in every molecule to remain in a state of equilibrium or to remain being in itself. That aspect we can see in every creation, in the natural self. But the temptation, paratantriyam, because we feel that we are inadequate in our mind, therefore we have a dependency on satiation by other elements. That is why this says that sarvastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati, atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. So that one who knows that all the desires for all the things are triggered because of the desire for oneself. That my desire for myself is the reason why I am desiring anything outside, thinking that objects are outside me and therefore I need to have that priya moda pramoda will come there, and then the ananda when it is not in the object but in myself when I am receiving that, I still confuse that ananda is triggered by the object. That is why we are never looking to the happiness, the source and the happiness where it is residing. We assume that it is on the object and we run after the objects. Only when we find the source of happiness and know the happiness is within myself, it is the Atma Kama which makes me Apta Kama or Akama, then only I will leave the Kama will become an Akama of the world of objects and will become a fully satiated person, Apta Kama, within myself. That has to be understood.
I think that one verse you said, I think that solved everything. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. This is good, Binduji. I think this solved everything. There is one more question and I'll hand over to Srinivasji. The bahusyam prajayeti. This is ajayamano bahuda vijayate. This is parallel there. That explains the name and form. That is this Namarupa, the moment something attributed to Paramartha, that solves everything, right, Binduji?
Come again? If it is attributed to?
Ajayamano Bhuda Vijayate. It is attribution to Purusha only.
Yes.
That attribution will help because,
Yeah, Ajayamano is coming not in this one, that's coming in the Purusha Sutra.
Yeah.
Here it is saying that Tat Srshtva tadeva anupravisat.
Yeah.
So that is saying that after taking two names and forms as multitude, it appeared to have become many. That is how the Upanishad says that. It is not creating something other than itself, because when it is all from there it cannot pravibhaktam, as if separated from that something cannot be created, because you cannot separate space from space to create a smaller space or a bigger space. The bigger space and smaller space is within the space itself, and that bigger space and smaller space is only due to vastuandaram or depending upon the object. Same way, here the creation is appearing to be separate, but not really. It is the name and form appearing in Brahman itself. We feel that the objects have been created because of the name and the form. But the name and form is within the Brahman only. Asti. The astitvam is present. That sat aspect or satyam aspect is the one which is present in everything. And that is the one which is making us feel. How do we know Asti? Because we know it. We are knowing that existence. So therefore the knowledge aspect also is included in it. And the Ananyatvam will be known only when we know our own nature, because when we see ourselves in everything, the Sarvatma Bhava, that is the time that Ananda or Anantata will become a realization to us. Once that is known, that Satyajnanam Anandam or Satchidanandam Brahma becomes a reality for each one of us. Then
Got
there
it,
is no
Binduji.
question.
Got it, Binduji. Thank you, Binduji. I think I'll have a few
Thank you,
more
Venkat.
questions when we meet on Sunday. I'll hand over to
Sunday.
Binduji.
Namaste, Srini.
Namaste, Bindoji. So, yeah, I think at least some part of the question I'm going to ask probably will be covered in Wednesday's class, but I'll still go ahead and ask. Because I think since Brahman is being described as Satyam Jnanam Anantam, I think all the other things like Swatantrata, Rachana, and Kama, the Akab, all these attributes are still feeling secondary. So, I'm expecting next session all these things will be, I don't know, should be refuted, because still something feels off, especially I want to ask a question about the Niyantrutva aspect which you touched upon, like how Ishvara will end up in a bias, but Brahman, but that maybe Sunday also you can discuss. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very difficult for me, all these things also, the Swatantrata or this Rachana capability and all these things. So, because of course otherwise we know that somehow it should go to something like an anirvachaniya, right? So but whereas these things are giving some kind of a definition to how the srishti happened. So I'm wondering which takes precedence, will swatantrata or rachanatmakata or anirvachaniya, which will take the precedence and which are the secondary explanations, Binduji?
No, anything you take, you will find that whether you take Paratantriyam or Swatantrata or Rachana or Kama, any of the thing, can we think of an objectless aspect of these things? Swatantrata without object, Rachana without an object, or Kama without an object. And all these objects are not seen in Brahman, but as separate from Brahman because of the Nama Rupa. The objects are Nama Rupa. But here it is saying that they are all Nama Rupa, but nothing but other than Brahman itself. So the Paratantriyam becomes Swatantrata. The Kama, because everything is in itself, therefore it is Akama or Aptakama. And then the Rachana is not an activity which is done for like a potter doing a Rachana of a pot, or a goldsmith doing this thing, because here there is Vastu and the created Vastu, the Karya and Karana are not separate. Karana Vyatireka Karyam Nasti. So therefore here the Rachana is within the Karanam itself. The Karyam is within the Karanam itself. Appearing to be a Karyam doesn't make it separate from there. Therefore, the Rachana is also an appearance, having done the creation. That is how we are to define it.
Yeah. And also the word tapas, it seems to be very magical, abstract word with very difficult definition. It will also have the same problems of these three words. And also that it has not been described earlier with these words. It has been only described with Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So yeah, it seems something will get clarified next session probably.
Yeah. It's actually speaking as, in the last class, you said, mind bending.
Yeah.
These are really mind bending. Unless you do manana and nididhyasana, it won't become your experience. You can still study it as theoretical or textual or as a philosophy for others to, criticize or discuss or, but once you apply it as from Atma Bhava, you are the Brahman and you think it from your own Jagrat Swapna Sushupti Avastha as your own. How did the Jagrat Swapna Sushupti Avastha appear for me when I am the Sushuptaha? I am the dreamer or the deep sleeper. In me, how did the dream or the waking is now happening? That you have to apply to yourself. Then only it will become your experience. And only when it becomes your experience, you can really get the intended meaning of these words rather than the technical names, which is like what you said, Rachana, etc. That is where the, catch lies.
Yeah, sure, Bindoji. I think I will ask more from the next session. I still have some this thing, but hopefully automatically they clarify in next session. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Srini. Prakash, can we close?
Yes, Binduji, there's one question. Maybe he can come on Sunday. Mr. has asked a question about how does consciousness arise or where does consciousness arise from? But
Consciousness doesn't arise or go anywhere. Everything is in consciousness. Show me one item which is outside consciousness, then your statement or your question can come. It is arising somewhere. Everything is happening in consciousness. Therefore, there is no question of consciousness arising from anywhere. In consciousness, the dream appears. Not that in dream consciousness arises. It is the other way around.
yes, thank you, Binduji. Again, thank you very much for this, taking your time to guide us through this essential part of Taittareya, and you reminded us again that this has to be fully embodied through practice. So thank you. And thanks everyone for coming for this 26th session. As I mentioned in the beginning of the class, these are all available as replays on Clubhouse or in a short time on YouTube channel Advaita Retold. You can listen to them. And that's the best way to do this Ravana Manana, to be able to listen to them without, every time you listen, the second time you'll have a lot more clarity. And on Sunday, at the same time as 8:30 IST, we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions about this class or anything to do with Advaita, Bindoji will be here for taking questions. And the next Taittareeya Upanishad class will be the following Wednesday, same time. Over to you, Bindoji, to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Venkat, Srini, for the questions. Thank you all for being there in the classroom. Please listen to it again and again and apply it yourself. We are not talking about an outside Brahman. The Brahman is you. You are the Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi should be your experience. That can happen only if you apply this onto yourself and, listen to this while listening. Understand that the Upanishad is talking about you. Each one of us are not separate from Brahman. With that, I take leave today. We'll see you on Sunday for the Q&A. Next Wednesday, we'll continue with the remaining part of the Upanishad. Thank you all. Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om.